Just going to clarify a few concerns that people may have with Nigel Farage going to Las Vegas to a Bitcoin convention. First of all, there's a massive difference between digital currency like Bitcoin, crypto, and central bank digital currency. Let me explain the difference. The central bank digital currency is a currency organised and owned by the national bank of whichever country, in our case, the Bank of England. That's dangerous because that means they have access to your money before you do. So the reason that they're keen to trial it is because it would give them ultimate control over everybody's spending wherever they spent it. Now, currently we have the facility to use credit cards, cheques, bank transfers and cash. And these are all our options available to us. And those options, even if you use a bank transfer system or a credit card, it's a private transaction between you and your bank and whoever you're spending your money with. It's private. So if I put something on my credit card, the government doesn't know I've done that. It doesn't get told I've done it and I don't tell it. And that's my business and it's your business too. A central bank digital currency means that the bank would know everything. So it would know every single transaction. And what they've done in China, if you Google the Chinese social credit system, they've actually linked your income in some provinces where they're trialling it. When I say provinces, I'm talking 26 million people. I'm not talking like 2,000. Where your behaviour is linked to whether or not you get your money. So this is aimed at a future where the state has ultimate control over everything. That is a central bank digital currency. That's got absolutely nothing at all to do with crypto, Bitcoin and these other online currencies, let's call them. It's a completely separate thing. Now, Jennifer Ewing is a friend of mine. She's in that industry. I don't understand it very well, I'll be honest. But Martin Daubney of GB News seems to have picked up on the fact that Nigel Farage yet again is ahead of the game. It's far and away in front of our government in thinking and planning. So I'm just going to play a short clip because I'm sure it'll explain it better than me as to why Nigel Farage is getting involved in the openings that could be a possibility for crypto, online, Bitcoin style currency. Nothing to do with central bank. In fact, it's the antithesis of a central bank digital currency. Anyway, here's Jennifer now. She sent me a clip.
Can I ask you about Nigel Farage? He's in Las Vegas at the moment. He's at a crypto conference, and all the people, his opponents in Britain, going, "Oh, here we go again. He's having a jaunt. He's having a holiday." I think something else is going on. I think Nigel Farage is cozying up to the crypto billionaires with an eye perhaps to make the United Kingdom a crypto mining epicenter globally. If that's the case, you know crypto, you know the money markets in America, you know how that intertwines into politics. If that's the case, would you say that's a smart move?
Absolutely, and full disclosure, Nigel Farage and I sat next to each other at a dinner a few years ago, discussed, this is actually a Bitcoin conference.
Yes.
And the reason I have to differentiate that is the Bitcoin people don't like to call themselves crypto people.
Right.
But let's leave that aside
Sure.
for a moment. No, you are right. I mean, the United Kingdom is missing a huge trick in not getting involved in this new industry. It is highly associated with AI. It can create jobs, it can create tax revenue, it can pick people back to work, and you just touched on something that so many people miss. Bitcoin mining can take up a lot of the unused energy we have and use it, right? So I was just at the Oslo Freedom Forum. They're using Bitcoin for humanitarian rights. They're doing mining up north, and this is absolutely some politician. There's a lot of work in the background. Some politician should be taking this issue up because it's a winner, and it's not going anywhere, right? We've seen Emma Reynolds come out saying that they don't even have a plan for the Bitcoin reserve in this.
And just for the layperson watching who doesn't really understand, Bitcoin or crypto, why should governments get involved? Why should governments care?
Well, ideally, there's two reasons. One, You don't need a government in order to transact in Bitcoin. It's basically peer-to-peer cash without a mediary. But the United Kingdom is sitting on something like 60,000 Bitcoin. I mean, do the math. What's the price right now? $108,000. That's a lot of money, and they don't have a plan for it. So this is amazing in a time where we're reading in the papers every day we need more revenue. Like, let's have a plan for this, like President Trump and Vice President Vance have said.
Okay, let's leave it there. And I think people are seriously misreading the room if they think Nigel Farage is just on a jolly. I think something else is going on, and it could be politically.
So, there you have it. That's what he's doing. He's not on a jolly. Viva Las Vegas. I couldn't think of anywhere worse to go. A friend of mine went to Las Vegas, you know. Really looking forward to it. Dream of a lifetime. Staying in one of these fancy hotels. He couldn't wait to get out. He's got his cut-off pants on. And he went outside, took a big deep breath of air, and it was that hot he burnt his esophagus. I'm not laughing. I'm bad, aren't I? I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the fact he'd flown all that way. They'd had flight delays, God knows what. Slept off the jet lag, got out of their hotel. He's there with cut-off pants, so you know what blokes are like in them with bits of string for legs kicking out at bottom. And he went, and he had to go to a doctor, and I think they had to put glycerine down or something because he'd burnt his throat. Anyway, sorry, I'm going off the point, aren't I? What I'm trying to get across here is do not panic, do not worry. It's got nothing to do with central bank digital currency. She just said it's peer-to-peer, meaning me to you, you to me. Sound like Chuckle Brothers. It's completely legitimate, rational, sensible, and an awful lot of the secret President Trump voters who were actually Democrats voted for President Trump because he embraced this new Bitcoin era. I don't know enough about it. I can't give you. I have no Bitcoin. I don't know. Lilani Dowding's got some, but she just like bought some and never did anything with it and watches it go up and down. She ain't got a clue either. So I don't know how you work it, how you profit from it. A lot of young people do. You know, our plumber, electrician, they all know about it and they're all using it. So I think we'll attract a lot of eager young entrepreneurs and young people who are into that kind of thing. So we've cleared that up, I hope. I can't be too detailed because I don't know enough about Bitcoin. Let's get on to point number 2. This morning I opened my Twitter up to have a look, and John O'Looney, the funeral director, I like him. I think he tries his best, and he's been great through lockdown on some things, bit off the mark on others, but nevertheless I do believe him to be quite a sincere man. But he's come out with probably the worst advice I've ever seen in the last 10 years, which is that Nigel Farage has announced that we will leave the ECHR if he's in the government. Yes, of course, because it's the ECHR that's the problem. Now, John seems to be under the impression that to leave the ECHR we lose our human rights. No, we don't. We get rid of a lot of baggage. Our human rights are safely intact with the 1998 Human Rights Act, which Britain enshrined into law. We have our human rights, that's it. The ECHR, on the other hand, if you take a deep dive into how it runs, is decidedly questionable. And I'm being polite, because 18 of the 22 judges in the ECHR are connected to George Soros's Open Society Foundation. Now, for those of you in the know, that's a red light already, isn't it? I can read you some of a piece that I found. Someone did a very deep dive into the ECHR. We need to leave it as soon as possible. The ECHR is responsible for millions being spent through our legal aid system by flaky human rights lawyers that are allowing people to stay in this country for the most flimsy of excuses. You've seen it in the press. One man's allowed to stay because his child wouldn't be able to get his favourite chicken nuggets back in whichever hellhole he came from. Another one has managed to claim the right to family life because he wants to be near his cousin who he's never met, who lives 3 towns away. Why is that so desperate? And another guy who wants to live with his cat. And they were allowed to stay in this country because of those reasons. Now, these cases cost a lot of money to go to court, and anybody who's had to claim legal aid for anything to fight the justice system will know that it is money that's supposed to be paid back. How? Because these people are being represented by quality human rights lawyers and nobody pays it back. It just comes out of the system. We pay for it all. The taxpayer is not only funding the keep of these people here, we're funding all these cases and even failed asylum cases where they try again. We are funding these bills. This is not on. We need to leave the European Court of Human Rights, PDQ, because it's detrimental. It's been bastardised into a situation where it can be picked through and used for all the wrong reasons. Now, John, I've only known him, he's a funeral director, I've only known him since we've been locked down. He's got a bit of a name for himself. I don't share a lot of his stuff. I don't necessarily agree with him on a lot of what he says, although I agree with him on some things. But he's no expert on this, and I think he's completely misreading the room with the European Court of Human Rights. This is a must. This is a must-have. We must have this. It's something Suella Braverman was fighting for, Priti Patel. They all got kicked back with the Tory government. They didn't want to leave it. Nobody showed a willingness to leave it. And that's the very thing that's a crippler. We need to be out. It was devised in 1950 after World War II to stop what the shenanigans that went on with the Germans. But unfortunately, the Act itself is dated. It doesn't fit in, nobody expected this exodus of people from Africa and the Middle East to start trailing into Great Britain. Nobody expected that. The flaws in the laws in the Human Rights Act enable the mass saturation of people who shouldn't be here. Some of them actual criminals, some of them human traffickers, some of them drug lords. They're coming in, they're allowed to stay because of this act. We need to leave it. We need to get rid of it. We need to stand on our own 2 feet. We need our own sovereign laws to be supreme, not for this court to basically outshine it. In other words, we have to abide by them over and above whatever our laws say. That's wrong. We left the European Union. It's got nothing to do with the Human Rights Act, but we do need to be away from it. I'll read you a segment from a deep dive that someone did into the European Court of Human Rights. We have identified 7 NGOs that are both active at the court and have judges amongst their former staff. At least 22 of the 100 judges who have served since 2009 are former staff or leaders of these 7 NGOs. These are these non-government organisations, a lot of them to do with migrants. Among these, the Open Society Network stands out as the number 1 of judges linked to, and it's for the fact that it actually funds the other 6 organisations identified in this report. The powerful presence of the Open Society, George Soros, the powerful presence of the Open Society and its affiliated connections is problematic in many ways. But even more serious is the fact that 18 out of the 22 judges were found to have served on cases initiated or supported by the organisation which they were previously associated with. We have identified 88 problematic cases over the last 10 years. In only 12 cases have judges abstained from sitting because of a conflict of interest. And this is a low bar. So obviously, if you read that document, I'll put it on my Facebook page. It's already up on my Twitter page. It's got a picture of the European Court outside. This is what we need to know. So hopefully this little video has cleared up 2 main areas. One that's come as a bit of a surprise with John O'Looney, the funeral director, banging on about Nigel wanted to leave this ECHR as a bad thing. And the other one, crypto, Bitcoin, has nothing to do with central bank digital currency. That's completely different. And it will eventually, if we allow it to get a foothold, it will be linked to your behaviour in the future. Your kids and grandchildren will not be growing up in a free society. It's that simple. But we have our farm shops, we have our local businesses, and we have a lot of people using cash. Cash is more popular than it was 10 years ago. Another sign of the pushback. So as far as I can see, there was talk about one individual at the Bank of England who tried to introduce it, another chinless wonder, one of these hobby horse ideas off the shelf to go and try it. And they put it into action, and the first few weeks it resulted in failure. That doesn't mean to say they won't try again. Anyway, forearmed is forewarned. Or is that the wrong way around? Forewarned is forearmed. Give yourself a slap. It's the weekend, so I'm not going to dog you to death. and just make sure that if you do see something that upsets you, try Googling it first. Just ask the question that's running off in your brain. Just think, is that true? And ask. Because now, when you go on Google, you do get an instant AI response, which is usually pretty accurate.